Hey everyone, you're listening to Handy at the Shandy, a Vegas podcast. I'm Boring Jack. I'm joined by Adam the Fraud and Table Games James. And today, before we get into some pre-trip exposition of some upcoming Vegas trips that me and James have coming up, we're going to talk a little bit about each of the hosts, how we got into Las Vegas, and what we enjoy about Vegas, what we tend to do on trips, what we like to do, what we stay away from, just so you can kind of get an idea of where we stand and kind of what our personalities are as it relates to the city we all like.
Well said, Jack. I love it for people who we're the only three in the digital room, but it's always slightly awkward when we do that live in front of people, which is what you just did.
Oh, the intro?
Yeah, because when I recorded alone, it was just to me. But when I'm on Vito's show, he does everything. It's like the whoa, 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 welcome. He does it all, and I'm just sitting there waiting for him to be done. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's just kind of fun.
And we'll bring them in now. Hey, Adam.
When we've been chatting for 20 minutes.
James is coming to us live on location from Southern California, getting as close to Vegas as possible.
Just inching there.
I'm inching so close, and it's been a horrible travel experience already getting out here to California. So I'm hoping I used up all of my bad luck in Chicago too. So I'll be using it this weekend in Las Vegas.
Well, speaking of inching to Vegas and travel experiences, James, what was your first trip like? When did you go for the first time, or how did you get into it?
My first Vegas trip, I was on the bowling team for my undergrad college. Bet you wouldn't have guessed that one. Actually,
what a rowdy trip that must have been.
It actually was a pretty rowdy trip, but my father used to manage a bowling alley, so I grew up as a pretty competitive bowler. I went to college. The college I went to, Western New England College, was one of the top bowling schools in the country, and I went there because of their bowling team. I don't bowl anymore because, I'm cool now. Not like what I was in undergrad.
Bowling Lanes James.
Bowling Lanes James.
Oh, man. New nickname alert.
So the first time I went to Vegas, I was probably 19. I was 19 at the time. We had a bowling tournament out there. I had already been gambling for a while, though. My dad ran a bowling alley, so gambling and bowling alleys go together. I was hustling since I was 8 years old. Pool, billiards, darts, cards, everything. And I knew I wanted to get out to Vegas and absolutely loved it. My buddy Matt Antonio, I had his old ID, so I had a fake ID. First time I ever played craps was at the Gold Coast. And I remember going up with my ID and being I just got to act cool and they'll let me in. And then they didn't even ID me. So it didn't matter. And that's the first time I went. And then we bowled in that tournament twice when I was an undergrad. And then my advisor, my undergrad advisor, who's still a really close friend of mine, he, when we were writing up one of my research papers, was like, hey, I found this conference in our favorite city. And I was like, what's our favorite city? And he said, Las Vegas. And he's like, should we submit? Should we submit? And I was like, yes. And so I went out with him when I was 20, same fake ID, did not get me into the one place that I got turned away from was going up to the top of the Palms. I forget what it was at the time.
Ghost Bar? Is that what it was?
Yeah. Ghost Bar. Yeah.
Is that right?
I was going to meet him and his wife up there, and I got there. I tipped my ID. They looked at it. They gave it back to me, and they said, "I don't think this is real." And I just turned around and walked away.
Damn! I wanted to meet the Real World cast. God,
it's so good. That's how I started, and then, I've been going most years ever since. I would say the last 5 to 10 would be where I really started to have a bigger gambling budget, where I felt like I was getting really good comps and could feel okay gambling at the levels without oh man, if I lose these $300, it's going to be kind of tough. That's how I started.
I miss those days though a little bit, where it's I'm 21, 22. I'm risking half the money I actually have in my bank on this Vegas trip, and just making $100 last as long as possible. There was something to those trips that I long for a little bit.
One thing I really miss about it is some of the time that you spent gambling because you knew it wouldn't necessarily last, you treasured it more,
Mhm.
right? You were
Mhm.
like, okay, we're going to go to like this place for lunch, then we're going to go to this bar, then we're going to like walk over here and see this, and then we're going to have like an hour to just gamble.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, maybe we'll run out of money before that hour is over, but like there's some time on the schedule to get some gambling in.
Mhm.
Whereas these days, I feel like it's more of the trip is gambling, and then you have to try to find time to squeeze things in around
Sure.
all the gambling you're going to be doing.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I wish like I could transport myself back to where I enjoyed, you know, a 3-day trip where I gambled for 3 hours total.
Yeah, for sure. How old were you when you went out, Jack, for the first time?
So I was 23. I went
Okay.
out the summer of 2014 for the World Series of Poker for the first time. And so that wasn't like the first summer after I graduated college, but it was the summer after that. And we'd always wanted to play because we'd been limit hold'em players for like maybe 5 years at that point, because you can play in the poker room starting at 18 here in Minnesota.
Mm.
And so we had been playing fixed limit hold'em for quite some time and had played online and gotten pretty good. And so we kind of knew, hey, when we're out of college and have jobs and stuff like that, we're going to want to go play in at least the cheapest World Series of Poker limit hold'em tournament we could. And so naturally we were staying at the Rio.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we would take we knew that to get to the Strip, there was a free shuttle to Harrah's. From Harrah's, you cross the street to the Caesars Forum shops and walk through there to Bellagio. So it was like over an hour just to get from like Rio to Bellagio to play in the cash games. But we were very poker focused at that. And everything I knew about Vegas, I knew from the poker forum. There's a long running poker forum that was by the 2+2 publishing company that publishes a lot of the poker books. And they have like a sub forum dedicated to Vegas. They have a lot of Vegas knowledge on there, but a lot of it's from the perspective of people that play poker and are math oriented and expected value oriented and stuff like that. And so even when I would get into things like craps, which I played on like my second Vegas trip, I knew already that it was like, oh yeah, the pass line with odds is the way to play, because that's what everyone on this poker forum says.
That's where Boring Jack originated.
Exactly. That was my only way in to Vegas, was through kind of the poker lens for the longest while there. And so like I said, I would go in the summer to play the World Series of Poker. I think I did that 2014, 15, 16, 17 before I even had a year where I made 2 trips to Vegas. I had 4 years in a row of just making one Vegas trip a year.
I think it's probably like a budgetary reason, right? Too.
I don't think it was that. It was more I didn't have the special interest in it yet, right? I was like, oh, this is the thing that me and my buddies do in the summer for this World Series. And I didn't really consider, well, what if I went out for another trip? What if I snuck another one? I didn't really even start thinking like that till 2018. So
I should mention that I went to grad school at UC Irvine, so in Southern California, which is about a 4.5-hour drive to Vegas. And the first time I went in grad school, which was in 2008, great time to go to Vegas. I had no money, but no one else did, so everything was super cheap. And it was just one weekend. I was like, hey, does anyone else? I didn't know these people. They're all PhDs in econ. I was like, anyone else want to go to Vegas this weekend? And like 2 dudes were like, I'd love to. And we just packed our bags and drove. We booked the Imperial Palace on the way out. It was a great time. So grad school was kind of fun. I went multiple times a year when I was in grad school, even though we had no money, but it was the recession. So you could play $10 blackjack anywhere. We were getting free rooms at Aria. We were getting corner suites for $50 a night. It was amazing.
Completely different time.
So how about you, Adam? How did you get into the Vegas life?
Mine was in the 90s. I was a kid. That was in the 90s. My dad brought the whole family. Right when it was turning into like that family-friendly vibe. I mean, we stayed at New York, but like I think our first trip we stayed at MGM Grand, and that's when they had like the theme park in the back of the hotel there. Bunch of cool rides. I mean, everything was like catered towards kids. Not everything, but you know what I mean? Like the whole marketing
it's
campaign.
Family-friendly Vegas.
Yeah, it was, Wet and Wild was there. But I think for me, like when I caught the bug was, I think it was on the second trip. I think it was in like 2001. I was a teenager. But that was when like Bellagio had just opened. It had only been open for a couple of years at that point. We were back. We're in New York. The theming was like just so on point for all these hotels. Like I remember Luxor and like all the cocktail waitresses like dressed up like to the nines and all like the Egyptian themed stuff and just everything being amazing. But I mean, like for me as like a kid was like, I wasn't obsessed with the idea of gambling, but it was just these. I mean, there's some of the biggest hotels in the world, just by number of rooms. So like, I was just obsessed with these
It's
places.
awe-inspiring.
Yeah, like I couldn't go into Bellagio because at that time Bellagio was still adults only, unless like you were staying there. So like when my dad went to go get tickets to see like I actually couldn't go in at first. He had to go pick them up. He said that, but like maybe I could have gone in, and he just wanted to not be around me for like 10 minutes. But then we went in to see like later on, like a couple days later. It was just like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. So like since then, I've still been like a hotel person first, gambler kind of second. So it's like I prioritize the hotel stay. Am I staying in a cool room or in a hotel with like cool features? That went away in like my 20s when I actually had to like pay for my own crap. So I was staying at Flamingo and stuff like that. But now, as 30s and now 40s, like yeah, I'm trying to stay in the nicest place possible or the most interesting room that I can. That's definitely remained. But yeah, I mean, I caught the bug like immediately on that first trip when I think it was 12 or 13 at that point.
The thing I want to get into is how we kind of transitioned from going to Vegas for the first time and enjoying it to actually having it as like an interest or a hobby, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the way that Vegas becomes a hobby for people to some extent has to do with the internet. Like the internet largely was a mistake, but one thing that it really does well is it brings together people with certain interests or hobbies, and it allows you to find niches where you otherwise wouldn't have been able to, right? And so I think for me, part of the reason that I got into Vegas is after my second Vegas trip in 2015, I was like, oh, that was like pretty cool and fun. Where can I find like more about this? And I'd been listening to a really long running poker podcast at that point that kind of got me into podcasts. So I'd listened to some poker stuff, some NFL stuff, and that was kind of it. I was like, oh, I wonder if there's like anything like this about Vegas. And I just kind of searched it up. And the first one I found was 500 by Midnight. And I listened to them kind of exclusively for like a year and binge listened to it a lot. And one of the things that I found about it is it was just like, there's so much depth here. Like you can just be obsessed with Vegas. And that wasn't something I knew you could do. Like I knew you could be obsessed with like model trains or like, I don't know. And there's all sorts of like weird hobbies out there that people get way too into, right?
Before we get hate mail, that's not a weird hobby. It's a perfectly valid hobby.
Weird hobby. So valid.
I didn't know that Vegas was one of those things that you could be weird about. I knew there were like Disney adults who get like way too into Disney, but I didn't know there were like Vegas adults who are way too into Vegas. And that's generally how I explain my interest in Vegas to people that otherwise don't understand. I say, those like weird people who are way too into Disney, even though they're like, in their 30s and 40s. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, that's me, except for like a different destination. And it's a slightly more adult destination. So I feel less weird about it, but it is that same sort of level of just trying to learn as much as you can about it. And then you get in a feedback loop where the more you learn about it, the more you enjoy going there, which causes you to take more interest in it and that kind of stuff.
I really kind of fell in love with the idea of Vegas after a couple times of going, of just like statistics and addiction built this empire in the middle of a desert. And then like the history of, it being a stop out west and how it was really just this like gritty gambling town, as someone who grew up gambling, like I already said, like with the bowling alley, and who's, a math and econ nerd and also likes history, like all those things just kind of came together. And so that's why also, even though this is not an Atlantic City podcast, I know that, Jack, I also enjoy like any sort of like casino or gaming town to learn about it and learn about the history and see how
I'm going to bleep that out.
It's industry chatter.
I'm going to censor other mentions of other gambling destinations on this Vegas show.
You probably should. Yeah. So, I mean, that's how I explain it to people. I say, look, I love statistics. I love the idea of just gambling and then how things come about because of it's just math. Like math built a city and addiction.
So you've gotten into kind of like the Vegas podcastosphere the relatively recently, at least the most recently of the three of us here. Was there Vegas media you consumed, in the 2010s, read books or articles or that kind of stuff?
Well, when I was in grad school, I read a book that was called Nevada Gaming Law because one of my first paper
Page
ideas was
Turner.
going to be, it was actually pretty interesting. One of my first paper ideas was going to be like modeling out utility functions for people who are like going to Vegas a lot. And that was an interesting project. And so I read up a bunch on Nevada gaming law. But honestly, no, not besides just like reading about the history. I wasn't listening to any podcasts about Vegas. I wasn't watching any sort of, views of the strip or anything like that. It was kind of just like my own thing. And then I stumbled upon Crap Vegas because I was doing a ton of yard work a couple summers ago and wanted something to listen to. And I was like, hey, maybe there's some sort of Vegas podcast. And they actually were the ones that came up first, even though I know that there were others, way more popular than at the time. They were on like episode 30 or so. And so I just started listening to them, and that's how I ended up meeting you, Jack, playing craps with Chris and Josh, and the rest is history, as they say in the biz.
One of the first podcasts I listened to was 500, but then immediately after that, the next one I found, I think, was Vegas Fanboy, who then led me to Cousin Vito being the third one because he was a guest on it. Vito's podcast is incredible. I really am sad that he came back and then went away. But yeah, no, Adam was probably the second Vegas podcast I ever listened to back in 2016, maybe. So how did you get into the podcasting realm?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of the same thing. It's funny though too. Like, there's a lot of people, like, if we call it like the Vegas internet community, who like don't know me from that. They just know me from like the last couple of years. Not that I'm saying I was a big deal, but like they never saw that transition that was made,
Right?
Which is in my transition of personality too. But no, I was the same way. Like, I was like a closet Vegas fan. Like, I had no one to talk to about it, right? So I had always had that since I was a kid. I think the rest of my family liked Vegas kind of marginally. My friends were like, yeah, like the standard, like, hey, when we're 21 or we have a bachelor party, we'll go to Vegas, whatever. But I had that kind of obsessive thoughts about it, but no outlet to express that. And so I did the same thing. I think when my wife and I moved to Detroit around the same, like 2013, 2014, I just started looking for things. I had to drive downtown. And I think You Can Bet on That was the first one because I was just looking for gambling podcasts.
Yep.
But then that led me to like 500 and 360 and kind of all of them. But then at the time, I just like loved the Cheapo Vegas site, even though it had kind of started going a bit dormant at that point. And so I was
not
like,
one I'm familiar with.
Oh yeah, I've been trying to buy that site for like the last 6 years. Like, there's no posts on it, but I love the site. I know there's a lot of cheapo Vegas fanboys out there, but at the time there was no like Vegas on a budget podcast, and so that's when I started Vegas Fanboy, just to kind of have that kind of self-expression. But at the time, my wife Katie she was doing a residency, so she had just graduated med school. She was on call literally once a week, or sorry, it was a week, once a month for a week. So like, she couldn't go anywhere, and so she was like, just go do whatever you want to do, because like I can't do anything. So that's when I kept going. I was out in Vegas like 3 to 5 times a year because she was like, yeah, just do whatever you need to do because I'm stuck here. So that's kind of how the podcast picked up and kind of how I fulfilled that obsession. But then going to all the events and stuff like the Vegas Internet Mafia Family Picnic, I always mess up the wording. But like all the meetups and stuff were always really, really fun too. And so then it's been like, I can't go as much now because I have kids and I want to spend so much time with them, but like it keeps pulling me back in, where it's like I can't also ignore it too, because it's like all I think about outside of my children and my work. So yeah, it's one of those where and then I pulled you guys in. I'm like, well, I don't like doing this alone anymore. Why don't I find these two knuckleheads to co-podcast with?
Let me find 2 people who don't have children that will be able to,
and we'll work around my schedule.
For a couple hours.
Yeah. Right before we record, I'm like, I got to leave for 10 minutes. I got to go take care of the kids really quick.
So I know what my answer is for this. James, when people ask you, like, why do you like Vegas so much? What do you answer?
I tell them that to me, it's just so interesting that this thing is built in the middle of a desert, kind of like what I said before. Like that's just
Yeah.
legitimately so interesting to me. And all the casinos are just they're so different, and you go in, there's so much to do. People talk, oh, is it expensive? I was like, yeah, but like so is most things that you have as hobbies or that you have like you experience as entertainment. Like
Or
I view
travel too.
gambling. Yeah, exactly. I view gambling and I view Vegas as like my entertainment and my travel budget. So like we're not Kim and I aren't spending 2 weeks down at the Maryland shore like renting a house. Like no, we're flying to Vegas on miles and
Mhm.
hanging out in our free room and gambling. So that's what I tell people, and I'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a town built on probability, but yet the whole thing just seems so improbable, right? Like
Ooh.
there's like all the nearby ways that US history could have run its course or the history of the West, like seems like very few of them would result in the Vegas that we have today, right? Like
Mhm.
we got like really lucky to have something like that survive. Like the ability to gamble got grandfathered in at some point in the 30s and stuff like that. Like there's all these little things that needed to happen and everything went exactly right. That makes it so unique. What do you say, Adam? When you say, "Oh, I do like a Vegas podcast," they say, "What? Vegas? I hate Vegas." What do you like about Vegas?
Well, I think it's. I mean, what I said earlier is, the hotels and like the theming and all that stuff. As someone who just is obsessed with hotels, I'll literally try and stay at a hotel even if I don't have to. I stayed at one last night. I went downtown. I was downtown for work. I could have easily driven home and just been like, yeah, no, I'm going to work from home the next day after the concert that I went to. We're like, no, I'm going to stay downtown at a hotel and have some fun because Katie said, yeah, go ahead and do it, even though I didn't need to. And it's that for me. It's like Vegas has some of the most unique, ridiculous, ostentatious hotels. Some that really are just so out there that they wouldn't exist anywhere else. Like it's preposterous, but they work there, and that's just hilarious and amazing and just fun to me. But also at the same time, like I think I speak a little bit to you, James, in that like I love watching kind of all the cognitive biases at play just in person. Like just the tricks people play on themselves when they're gambling, all the fallacies and stuff that they come up with at the tables. Like my bankroll hasn't gone up significantly, or at least I don't dedicate as much of my income to my bankroll because to me the gambling isn't like the winning and losing doesn't do as much for me still. Like I think I've said it before, like switching from a $5 minimum to a $25 minimum is not 5 times as fun for me. But just watching how people interact with the games and trick themselves and like succumb to these fallacies, I think is, including myself, it's just the whole thing is just a complete fascinating case study. And I just love every second that I'm in there most of the time.
Right. And I mean, the other people is a big aspect of it
Mm-hmm.
because the thing I always say, and the people there, the clientele is, I mean, it's very mixed. It's people from everywhere. People always say all walks of life. I was going to try to avoid saying that phrase, but no, it's people from all walks of life that you'll meet in Vegas. The thing that I like about it is that everyone there is on vacation. Like outside
Mm-hmm.
of the people that are in the service industry that are working there, everyone else is there traveling instead of like a lot of other cities where there's the tourists, there's the people serving the tourists, and there's
Mm-hmm.
just a bunch of other people trying to go about their day and you're in their way.
And even the conventioneers are traveling. Like there's no other city where like the conventioneers are like out in mass, like experiencing the city.
Yeah, and they're having a good time and they're
Mm-hmm.
drinking a lot and they're trying to do everything possible to not be at their convention right now or at their conference or what have you, right? They're trying to get as much in before they know they have to go to bed that night or whatever. Yeah.
Adam, what hotels have you not stayed in Vegas?
The only ones that I haven't stayed in that I want to stay in are Win and Encore, which is like the two. I mean, those are the
Well,
two big ones. But that's really it. After I knock Palazzo off, I mean, I guess we could say Venetian, but Palazzo, Venetian,
sure.
pick your poison. I think I'm going to stay at Venetian in November. But out of the ones, I mean, I've stayed at most, and there's a handful that I have left. But Win and Encore are the only two that I really care about at this point.
That actually kind of surprises me, but
Jack, finish your thought.
no, all I was going to say is that because everyone there is on vacation, you end up just in more conversations with random people
Mhm.
or interacting with random people in ways that are a little more protracted, right? You might have a longer discussion. It's not just like, a 2 minutes while you're waiting for a bus or something that you talk to someone. People strike up conversations a lot
Mhm.
more, and those conversations last longer, or you hang out near the same people because you're at the bar or you're at a gaming table or stuff like that. And so you kind of end up just with a lot more interactions that are interesting.
Yeah. I mean, as an extroverted introvert, like that happened to me at Fontainebleau, where a guy came over from Circus Circus and he was just hanging out at Blue Bar and happened to sit next to me. He kept trying to buy me a drink. He was drunk. I'm like, no, 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 no. But then he just struck up a conversation about what he was doing. He was there for a boxing thing, and he assumed I didn't know anything about boxing. He's like, oh, I'm trying to watch this fight for this Japanese boxer. I'm like, oh, anyway. He's like, oh my, and he just gives me a huge hug. He's like, and then they know that was a 30-minute conversation. I'd planned to leave like right after I was done with my drink, but like that does happen all the time, and it's awesome. Then like you just leave and you just kind of two ships passing the night, and you never talk to them ever again. But you have those kind of fun micro experiences.
To Adam's point, I think the city does run on alcohol in a lot of ways. And
Mhm.
a lot of the experiences that it offers are ones that are enhanced with alcohol. And your ability to tolerate just random people wanting to talk to you about random stuff goes up with that.
Mhm.
And so as someone who likes to drink, there's a lot of things you can do in Vegas that are more fun with booze involved.
Like everything.
Right, but they do that on purpose, right? It's not a city that has like, I don't know, like a ropes course or something, like, right? Like, you don't have to do things that require dexterity to have fun in Vegas.
That's fair.
So that kind of covers our nascent Vegas experiences. We'll get more into kind of what our typical trip looks like for us, how we evolved to get where we are today. We can do that a bit later, or maybe even a couple weeks from now. But I think now it's time, given that James is departing tomorrow for Las Vegas, for him to kind of tell us about this trip he has coming up and some of the unique planning considerations he had.
At Circus Circus.
I wish. No. Yeah, I'm so pumped. Like I said, I'm sitting here in Southern California, hanging out with my wife's family. We will be picking up our rental car tomorrow at 9 a.m. and then grabbing some lunch with the family, hoping to be on the road by 1 p.m. So 4 hours to the Cosmopolitan. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, we're calling it our concert trip. We've had this one booked for a little while because we are going to go see the Backstreet Boys at the Sphere, which, side note, which I think is funny, and I know my dad's going to listen, he kept calling it the Spear. And I was
Yep.
like, it's Sphere. And he's like, oh, yeah. So I just wanted to mention that because he'll get a kick out of it. We'll be watching Backstreet Boy at the Sphere. I got a brand new outfit, all white. They said you should be wearing all white. So I got this sick outfit that I'm going to wear. I'll put it on our Instagram if we ever get one, Jack. And
Jack
my
has all
job,
the
yeah.
administrative work.
Jack's doing all.
Yeah,
I'm not doing anything.
Just throw that up on the screen there, Jack.
Please
Bring it up. Pull it up.
Link in the notes. And then Kelly Clarkson on Saturday night at Caesars is going to be spectacular.
What a throwback weekend. Yeah, like
sure.
Which of those did you book first? So what was the impetus for the trip, or did you see both and book because of both?
I was, as soon as Sphere went online, I was like, I want to go to the first concert that I have any interest in. I want to go. And the Backstreet Boys was the first concert that I was like, okay, that would be all right. And then my wife's sister, who lives here in Southern California, was a huge like boy band, like Backstreet Boys fan. So her and her fiance are joining us. There's 4 of us going. So that's the reason why we booked the trip. And that we booked first. Then I saw that Kelly Clarkson was playing the day before, and it was only $94 all in with fees. I was like, I'll go see Kelly Clarkson for $100.
Oh yeah.
And then last week I was looking at, well, what could we do Friday night? And
is Lou Bega in town? Oh, okay.
Beyonce's at Allegiant, and we were thinking of going, but we're like, we're already doing way too much stuff. We're already doing way too much stuff. So yeah, I always do a little itinerary. I know we want to talk a little bit about how we plan. So we always have a Google Doc. Kim, my wife, loves if I plan things out. And so I do, because I try to do things to make my wife appreciate me. And so, yeah, we have a Google Doc that kind of lists it like hour by hour. I usually leave one day. So this trip's going to be Monday. All we know is that we're going to be staying at Palazzo, and we want to go over to Resorts World to get my free play. Other than
Nice.
that, Monday is going to be open. It's going to depend a lot on bankroll. If the bankroll's still there, there'll be a lot of high limit room at Palazzo. If the bankroll's not there, we might go downtown. We might go to the the Neon Sign Museum. We've never been. We might do some small touristy type things. But other than that, we're pumped. You probably want, Jack, you'd want to know where we're going to be eating, because I know you like. We're going to the Michael Mina place, right? Is that say it?
Yeah,
at Bellagio, right? He's
Yep.
he's I guess good. I don't know.
Are you doing the tasting menu there? I've never been.
Yeah, we're doing the $95 the prefixy, as you know, as it's spelled, $95. We're doing that on Friday night, and then tomorrow night, Thursday, we're meeting up with my friend Eric, who lives in Las Vegas. We're going to Lemongrass at Aria. Then Super Frico. We have reservations for Super Frico on Sunday. We've been to Super Frico in Atlantic City. It was great. So we're going to go to the one there. We'll do a lot of happy hours. Try and grab some happy hours at China Poblano while we're at Cosmo. We'll do most of our stuff at Cosmo. There's also a surprise that I'm doing Friday night. Kim can't hear me.
James just looked around furtively. Yeah.
I was like, is Kim here? Hopefully she can. She better be plugging her ears if she can. She's downstairs with her family. We're going to go watch Elf at the Cosmo pool.
We had
Friday
a text chain about that. Yeah.
I asked him, I was like, hey, do you want to do like something that I think is kind of a random thing to do in Vegas on
This
Friday?
instead of Beyonce.
Instead of Beyonce.
Elf.
Because it's free. And Elf is like one of her favorite movies, and they're supposed to be theming the pool and having like snacks and drinks that are themed. So I don't know. We're going to go. So it'll be pretty fun. I'm excited. I can't wait to get a handy at the Shandy, and we'll be using our VP tracker cards that we made to try and see how many 4-of-a-kinds we get. And I will be texting you both updates and making you feel extreme FOMO.
So when you're booking these restaurants, like are you just kind of mostly picking places you haven't been? Or like, how do you decide on like lemongrass at Aria? I feel like some of these restaurants are role players in a lot of ways, where you don't hear a lot of like buzz about them. But you also, you don't hear that they're like bad necessarily, but it's a restaurant that I feel like unless I was at Aria, I would like completely have forgotten about.
Yeah, well, my friend Eric loves Asian food, and every time we go out to Vegas, he usually takes us to a different location. Like our favorite is just going to Red 8 at Wynn, which is just, I love that restaurant. And so he was like, where are you staying? I'm like, I'm at Cosmo. He's like, let's go here. So he booked it. So that's why that one is. And then we heard about the different tasting menus at the Bellagio, because I got an email or something from MGM. So I just like kind of looked through all those menus to see which ones would be good for both Kim and I. Kim has celiac disease, so she can't have any wheat, has to be gluten-free. So I usually try to make some attempt to make sure that she can actually have food at the restaurants that we go to.
We're going to the bread factory.
We're going to the bread factory. We're doing Italian again. So that's why. And then Super Frico is, again, it's just there. It's cool.
Yeah. I kind of wish I was more inclined to just try a place. I feel like part of being plugged into a lot of Vegas stuff is that if I haven't heard specific good reviews about a place, I just assume it's bad. And I feel like I'm shitting on lemongrass here, like inadvertently. I've been to lemongrass. It was great the time I went. So I'm not trying to single that one out in any way. But it seems to me that there's so many restaurants in Vegas that you have to be picky about it. Or at least that's what I tell myself, is like, oh, there's too many to pick from. You have to go to like the good ones. With the amount of trips I take to Vegas now, that's like not true anymore. I can just go to restaurants just to try them at this point, and I maybe should.
Yeah, I mean, I'm, as I said last episode, I am not a foodie at all. And so really any restaurant in Vegas that isn't getting completely, as you said, shit on for being awful, I'm gonna think is fine. And we live in the middle of Pennsylvania, so like everything's just gonna be great. So I'm fine with it. I'm there for the gambling. I'm not there for the restaurants.
I consider myself a picky eater in recovery and not a foodie. It's more that I used to be just like very picky, like, 12-year-old levels of picky at age 22. And so in trying to like undo that, I've gotten into a lot more food.
Oh, there's a couple other things that I want to say I'm doing. I'm going to the barber shop for the fourth time, the barber shop at Cosmo, to get a full beard trim down and a haircut. I love getting a complete like haircut and shave when I'm in Vegas. I usually go every single time. So that's going to be something. And we're going to check out a couple of the speakeasies. We're going to do a Ghost Donkey, I think, because Kim loves tequila
That place
and
is
mezcal.
cool. I've been there once. It's very small. I would try to get there when it opens. Just otherwise, it might be pretty crowded. But
yeah, and then the bank. Is it called the bank or the vault? I always forget.
The vault.
The vault. Yeah.
I always want to call it the bank because I know like
they had a place called the Bank. It was kind of like a club turned into an event venue.
Oh, maybe that's
and there was
where
like an elevator to it over near Snacks. Elevator's still there. I just don't know if it goes
that
anywhere.
might be where it's stuck in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, we think we're going to go to vault. Maybe, I don't know yet. Depends on if we want to spend $65 on a cocktail. Which
Those are some pricey drinks in there.
If I hit it big and it's close enough to the end of the trip to where I know I'll be going home with some money, maybe that's the time to go to the vault. I had a buddy on this most recent trip kind of bugging me like, hey, like maybe we should try it. Maybe if other people don't want to go, like you and I could go Wednesday night. Or like, he was just trying to put it in my ear. And it's just kind of like, I've started enjoying drinking nice cocktails for free in Vegas. So the idea of paying like $65 for one is just kind of, it almost feels like conspicuous consumption, except no one's there to watch you do it. So you lose out in both regards.
I think it's more of like the experience for me. I don't think of it as I'm paying that much for the drink. I know that I can easily lose $1,000 at the video poker bar. So if Kim and I can go and we'll probably have one cocktail and like spend an hour and 15 minutes just hanging out, and it's going to cost us like $125-$150 total, I think we'll do it.
I do want to go for sure.
Yeah, just put the receipt on Twitter so that people can be like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, you paid that much? And they'll just you get tons of interaction off that stuff.
You can make the money right back just from that alone.
If you post a $20 pizza slice on Twitter, they go effing nuts.
You can swear on this podcast, by the way.
I tamed it down. I'm sorry.
Don't get me started on people talking about the idea of things being overpriced.
It's my favorite thing. Like, I can't wait to go back and just buy something that's overpriced so that people can lose their mind.
That's how I'll get my Twitter following up there.
Yeah, it's huge interactions. Yeah.
So, James, you've got 5 nights in Vegas, but you're doing 4 at Cosmo and 2 at Palazzo with a night of overlap. That is one detail I do happen to recall from the previous episode. Are you switching over to Palazzo mostly because you're just going to the show at the Sphere and you want to be nearby?
There's a few reasons. The first reason is because my comp at MGM is 4 nights, so I needed a 5th night no matter what. It's closer to Sphere, which is great, and I would like to move my play from Wynn over to Venetian Palazzo, mainly because of that high limit bar. Like, I just really like that place, and so I only have one. I think we're paying like whatever $129 for both nights at Palazzo, and I might try to talk to someone and see if I can get it taken off, or I don't care, and hopefully I'll get some good comps after that. So that's why we're doing that. And I did not book 3 or 4 or 5 like I was thinking of doing. I'm going to just stick with that, mainly because I was looking, and I looked for F1 weekend. I can get some really good deals even without really giving a lot of play to some places right now. So I think it's only going to get better. I don't think prices are going to go up. Like, I never see prices go up towards F1 weekend. So yeah, that's what I'm doing.
That'll be a fun trip. Good musical trip right there. You go see Bruno Mars at Pinky Ring, maybe, see if you can get some, and then you get a full lineup there.
Here's the thing. I'm not even a big music fan. Like, it just happened to be, like, I usually don't seek out going to see music or going to concerts. It just happened to be the way it's going to be this time.
Are you playing tour guide at all to your family or your in-laws that are going to be there? Is there anything that like you have to be the Vegas guy for, taking them to gamble or anything?
No, not really. So my sister-in-law has been there a decent amount of times. Growing up in Southern California, it's a place for them to go. I've actually been with them probably 5-6 times.
Oh, okay.
They're not huge gamblers. So my sister-in-law's fiance, his family They're pretty big slot players, so they're all in the Caesars ecosystem. So they're like gonna bring their diamond cards. They get free parking. I was like, that's great. I love that. I love that you're doing that. So I don't have to do that at all. The only thing I did was I booked the tickets. I booked the hotel rooms, and I made the itinerary. It's just my marriage is better when things are planned out because if Kim gets a little hungry and we don't have anything planned for food and we're just kind of sitting there, let's say in the food court area of Cosmo, and I'm like, well, we could go here, could go here. It's not good. It's not great.
So why don't we close out the first part of this episode with talking about a topic that James wanted to talk about, trying to do too much in Vegas, which maybe to people listening, it sounds like he's already trying to do too much. And I kind of had the same question about, I kind of wanted to talk about if you're trying to do too little, like if you don't have enough planned, what happens? And so why don't we get into that here for a bit, and then we can pick up the start of part 2 with my upcoming trip. I'll kick us off by saying the thing that gets me is that when I'm in Vegas, what I want to do is usually what I'm currently doing. There's like a lot of inertia there. And I feel like having stuff planned is like a really good way to get around that. But it sometimes bums you out because what you want to do is what you're currently doing. And then so having something planned means you have to go do something that you don't want to do. Mm-hmm. What does that look like for you, Adam?
See, I mean, so like I always say, like we plan one thing a day, like one thing to do, and then one meal, and that's it. Because I don't want to run into, oh, we're having fun here. I don't want to have to go now do this other thing. Like I'm in the process of planning my trip in September, and my wife keeps asking me, well, what are we doing? Because your sister wants to know, because she wants to help plan all this stuff. And my sister Sarah called me. She's like, well, after dinner we can do this, and then we can go here. I'm like, no, stop. We're just doing this one thing because we're going to get caught up somewhere. We're going to enjoy ourselves, and it's going to be a bummer if we have this kind of what feels like an obligation at times. So yeah, I'm very strictly, I'm not an hour by hour. That would drive me absolutely bonkers. So it's one activity like, oh, we're going to do a cabana, and then we're going to eat at Bavette's. That's actually what we're doing on day 2, I think. The other day, it's like, oh, we're going to do the F1 experience. We're going to have dinner here, and then maybe we'll go downtown. But that's open, right, of like where we go and what we actually do and where we find ourselves. So I think I'm kind of the opposite in that regard, which does drive Katie a little bit nuts because she wants to know what we're doing. But I have this kind of laissez-faire attitude towards it because, yeah, the inertia thing is very real out there because you don't want to be, I know that standard, it's like, oh, you're on a heater, but like not even that, like you're just enjoying the moment somewhere. It's like, I don't want to be pulled from that particular moment at the time.
As an improviser, we have multiple improvisers on this call. As an improviser, we're very comfortable with changing those plans. We hardly ever stick to them. I think it's more comforting to like say, okay, here's all the things I want to do, and I'm probably not going to get to all of them. And I don't think I would do well with just, if I don't have things planned, I'm legitimately just going to gamble for 20 hours. And I've had many Vegas trips. I've had many Vegas trips where it was like, okay, you gamble all day until like 3 a.m. You go to bed for 6-7 hours, you wake up, you start gambling, you eat lunch, and then you gamble all day, and then you eat dinner, and then like just rinse and repeat. And those can be amazing, and those can also be the worst trips ever.
Mm-hmm. You end up at the Matt King show or something, like the matinee.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the only show I've ever seen in Vegas. I've never seen a single show or concert in Vegas other than Matt King's.
It's always on my mind.
Matinee.
Like, what could we do if we run out of money? Like, just go see Matt King. That's just I've never seen it, but it's just that's what's in my head of like the standard suggestion.
But yeah, I think what James is saying about having like give yourself a hard out that's also kind of like a soft obligation where you're like, okay, we're going to you get to this bar at like 2:15. And you're like, okay, Ghost Donkey opens at 4. So we're going to be here until like 3:45. Mm-hmm. And so we got like 90 minutes to enjoy this. But if you go to Ghost Donkey and you don't really like it, you can just go back to the bar. I mean, like, you know. So in the bar, of course, we're talking about the chandelier bar.
Well, that's the thing. It's so hard to get a spot there that it's like, I don't want to leave if I actually have one, right? Because you go back, you're not going to get one. Or you got to have, the accessible seats. So you're sitting down while everybody else towers above you like some Andy Kaufman bit or something.
But yeah, I've been kind of seesawing back and forth in that realm where I used to plan things out, not necessarily hour by hour, but with a lot of those little like checkpoints built in. And then as I became more comfortable in Vegas, like knowing that I could find things that I like to do, I've kind of moved away from that. And now I'm kind of swinging back more towards it, because if I just do the things I want to do in Vegas, I find myself coming home without like having the memories that you want, right? Where you're like, oh, I did this one thing, you know, because all the trips will blend together if you just spend all of them at the video poker bar, right?
And now we need pod content. So
right,
there you go.
That I haven't started to worry about that yet, but that's going to be coming up for sure.
Start.
You've got to be worrying about that nonstop.
On my mind all the time.
Well, speaking of a lack of content, I think that wraps things up for hour 1 of episode 2. Stay tuned for the next hour, where we're going to go through my upcoming trip, which is actually only about a week away at this point. And then we're going to get into the mailbag. And by mailbag, I mean, one of my buddies asked me a litany of small questions that he wanted to hear about on the show. And we'll get to kind of as many as we can in the time we're allotted.
Yeah. What are the odds that I extend my trip by 2 days? That way I can see all the people that are coming in.
Plus 450.
Ooh, that's all right. If I can bet on it and then actually,
well, yeah. See, there is a bit of a.
All right, let's move on.
Move it on.